Hey everyone, it's Leandra at New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program's Lexington, Kentucky facility. And today for our Trainer Tip Tuesday, we're taking a look at a little bit of the behind the scenes of what happens when we're transitioning a horse from the lifestyle on the track to their next career. Our retraining process is pretty comprehensive and we can tailor it to individual horses. So we're going to look at a horse named Soft and Lovely today. She's a 2017 mare. Her last race was at the beginning of February this year, and her last workout was just the beginning of March. So we're talking about a horse who has had less than a month of time out of the track environment. She came here only a week or two ago, and she's really just settling into the routine. So first and foremost, we always are keeping in mind on the horse as an individual. She's a really cool, level-headed mindset. She's a nice horse in general as far as disposition goes, and she has a great build to her. You can tell just by looking at her that she's an athlete, but she also just has a very focused type of personality. And let's look at her walk for a second, because what we're going to look at right now, since we're preparing to do a free lunge video for her, but let's just look at the way she moves. And hopefully you can get a sense of that from the video. I know it might be a little far away. So one of the things that we notice with her, which is really common for horses coming right off the track, is that really tucked up hind end appearance. So there are a lot of reasons that this can happen, but it's quite an adjustment for them to be transitioning. So we're wanting to keep all of the different variables that can influence their movement in mind. So one being, a lot of horses on the track are used to being shod in all four. She only has front shoes on, and if we find that a horse really needs to have four shoes on, we can put four shoes back on. The shoes can also vary because they have kind of like, if you're familiar with cleats, it's like they have a little toe cleat on, which helps them grab. So it's toe grab. She's not in a toe grab anymore. She's transitioned from aluminum shoes to steel, and she just has shoes in front. So maybe some of that tucked up appearance that we see has to do with her feeling a little bit more on her feet than she might before. Even if she has really solid feet, she just is feeling things differently. It also means that their muscles and the ligaments and the tendons in their legs, everything has to transition to the new way of going. So whereas they might have had a little toe grab, it actually changes her angle, not just in the foot, but in the whole way that they have to use their leg when you remove that from the picture. One of the things that we also keep in mind is that a horse who's coming right from the track has obviously had a lot of physical demand on their body, and sometimes, especially young horses who are still growing and they're being asked to perform at this maximum athletic ability, that they might have minor, hopefully minor, suspensory strains. Even if they retire with no known injuries, that can be something that we deal with often, which is commonly what we see is called suspensory desmitis. And that can be without any major injury like a tear or a lesion. It can just be kind of like micro tears, but it will affect their movement. So in many, many situations, we recommend, for our purposes, we keep the horses in work unless they really need to have that time off. But a lot of people find benefit from just giving the horses time off to be a horse, to let their joints cool, to let their soft tissues settle. And so in those cases, say that she just had a couple of months off and her whole system relaxed, so the tension that we see and her feet would adjust, that you might not need to do anything else rather than just give her time off. And then maybe she would have none of this visible issue. But we like to gather a lot of information just because we're trying to help as many horses as possible. If we see an issue, like to investigate it so we know if the horse needs a chip removed, that gets done. We know if there is damage, we know precisely what time frame. So for a lot of reasons we do have to do, and she's hearing some of this, very windy today, she's hearing some of the sounds of the indoor, which is being quite brave for it. But for our program, we like to gather a lot of information and pass that along to a doctor so they can really understand what they're getting into. But my point being that a lot of times just time off can really help them to eliminate some of these things that we're seeing. And you also have to get a sense too for the musculoskeletal system. A lot of times training can be one-sided on the track since they're predominantly racing one direction or training one direction, so they spend a lot of time sort of going one way. This depends a lot on the facility where they are and the training style, of course. But they may just have asymmetries, and we do see a lot of tension in the hind end that has to do with just that push-off and the high demand of the high-performance career. So their gluteal muscles are just tense, and you can kind of see that with her, where you can really, really see that muscle definition. She's a hyper athlete. She's used to going fast, going mostly straight. You know, they have some turns, but it's not like you imagine trail riding or something where you're moving around a lot of different directions all the time or doing lateral work and whatnot. This is predominantly sort of a mono movement type of training. So those are some of the things that we think about when we're approaching the retraining process, looking at a horse who's come very recently off the track. That really addresses the physical parts, and we touched on a little bit the mental part, but that is just as important when we're trying to consider what's going to be appropriate for this horse down the line. And I'm very impressed with her mindset. She's been really easy to work with, and you can tell even with this new environment or some of those kind of scary sounds, she's handled it with grace and with not a major reaction. She's a very confident, level-headed individual, which might let us have some insight as to what she might be successful in down the line, whether that be eventing, show jumping, trail riding even. There are a lot of different situations they can be in for that. So this is, I think, going to be a very versatile horse. So we're going to take a free lunge video here in just a moment. Hopefully post that up online soon. Hi, girly. But this is Soft and Lovely. She's a 2017 mare. She stands around 16-1 hands, 16-1 or 16-2. She's still growing. So definitely keep an eye out for her. Hopefully we'll have her available for adoption soon. If you're not already approved as an adopter, that's going to be the #1 step. So check out our website, newvocations.org. You can see the whole adoption process if you click on the tab that says Adopt. And you can check out the other horses who are already available on our website, again, newvocations.org. But thank you so much for joining us today on our Trainer Tip Tuesday. Hopefully everyone is having a fantastic day. And tune in for future videos. Thanks for joining.